Hey, this is Eric Brudvig with the IGN Xbox team, here with a video review of Too Human, the Xbox 360 exclusive game from Silicon Knights. Too Human is the first in a trilogy of games that takes place in a world where Norse mythology meets sci-fi technology. A war with machines has been raging for ages, and it's the Norse gods who have taken up the call to protect humanity. Players take the role of Baldur, Odin's favorite son and a tragic character in Norse mythology. The game begins with a hunt for a rogue machine and quickly expands to a tale of intrigue and infighting amongst the gods. The story of Too Human is a cinematic experience with a lot of exposition, but it's the unique gameplay that's going to stick out immediately. Too Human makes use of a dual analog combat system. One stick on the controller moves Baldur around while the other is used to attack. Simply point the analog stick towards the enemy and hold it down and the game does the rest. Through flicks and rotations of the stick, you can perform a small number of extra moves, which are then further expanded upon through guns and special attacks in the game. With both analog sticks on the controller occupied, this leaves no option for the player to directly control the camera. This can take some getting used to, and for about the first 30 or 45 minutes of the game, you're going to feel a little out of place. Once you do get used to the unique controls, you'll still find that the camera is one of the first sticking points you'll notice in Too Human. Try backtracking or getting into a corner and you'll find that the camera in Too Human doesn't really know what to do, sometimes spinning about in circles. The combat may be pretty simple in Too Human, but that just leaves more time for the player to focus on what this game is really all about: loot drops. Anybody who's played Diablo before will be right at home with Too Human. As you play through the game, you'll find new and better equipment dropping here, there, everywhere. This ultimately is the strongest part about Too Human. If you're the type of player that loves decking out your character and will continue to play just to get that one piece of armor or one awesome sword, this game is for you. Part of the reason this loot system works so well is that Too Human has a deep class and skill tree system. There's 5 different classes: a berserker who's great at offensive moves, a commando who's good with guns, a bioengineer who can heal, a defender who's a strong tank-like character, and the champion who's good at aerial combat and a good all-around character. Each of these classes has a branching skill tree, and you'll find that within just a single class, there's a lot of different ways to play the game. Once you begin restarting the game with a new class, you'll find that this game plays drastically different with each individual class. This class system is actually so good that it points out one of Too Human's major weaknesses. Some of the individual skills that each class has are actually group-based, which means when you go online and play with a friend, you'll share your skill with them. And unfortunately, Too Human is only a 2-player cooperative game. The game is ultimately a lot more fun with 2 players, but it would have been even more fun with 4. Some of the classes seem almost relegated to obscurity. There's pretty much no reason to play as a bioengineer. He's the healing class, but why would you care about healing your party when your party is only 2 players? Or even worse, if you're playing by yourself, it almost becomes pointless to choose that class. This, combined with all the loot, just begs for some sort of way for you to interact with more than just one player. Even if there was something as simple as a lobby where you could show off your armor and trade things with more than one other person, the entire package would feel more cohesive. For every good thing that Too Human does, it seems like it also has something holding it back. And while I was playing through the game, I always had the question in my head of what is the point of playing this game? There's no penalty for dying in Too Human. All that happens when you die is a small wait while Valkyrie comes down and revives you, and you just start exactly where you were before. What's more, enemies in Too Human scale to your level. That means if you level up to level 30, all of the enemies are going to level up with you. Once you boil down Too Human and realize that dying doesn't matter, and every enemy is going to be about the same difficulty, all that's left are 4 stages, which are linear walks from one fighting area to the next, with brief interludes into a cyberspace area where you can access secret areas and find more loot that's leveled to your character. All that really leaves you as a driving force for playing the game is the story. The story does have some flashy moments, but it also leans towards the dorky side of the spectrum. And it also has the typical non-ending that we've come to expect out of the first part in trilogies. Though there are some small hitches in the frame rate and some minor bugs, the package is put together pretty well. The voice acting and music is fantastic, and Too Human does a great background loading during cutscenes so that you never have to sit through a loading screen. This is a great thing for keeping the action going and making you feel like you're part of the experience. And though the level design in Too Human is fairly linear and straightforward, it's saved by some cool art design that'll have you exploring and looking around. Too Human certainly offers some fun and will appeal to anybody that gets addicted to loot drop games like Diablo. It's a good game that ultimately falls just short of its promise. For everything the game does well, it has something that's just holding it back. So there you have it. Two Human's a great game for people who love loot drops and equipping and outfitting their characters, and it's a decent ride for the rest of us. For the full written review, check out IGN.com.